Mikey, my guy, we're back at it, baby.
Back again like we never left.
Slim Shady's back. We're talking about Lil Wayne, now we're Slim Shady. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
All
right. Anyways, hey, we have a fun topic today because we're going to flip the script. Everyone says tech sales is the best. I'm always shouting it from the rooftop saying tech sales is the greatest career ever. You make so much money. It's so great. Today, we're going to talk about why tech sales sucks. And you might have heard an expression in tech sales, don't call the baby ugly.
Yep.
Do you know that expression?
Of course.
Imagine I'm selling Google Cloud. I found out a prospect is AWS, our number one competitor.
Yep.
I'm not going to call the baby ugly. I'm not going to say, oh, like you made the wrong decision going with AWS and make them feel that way.
Yep.
That's not a winning strategy. I'll actually acknowledge them and say, oh, you didn't make the wrong decision. I might say words differently, but that's the feeling I'm communicating. And then I'll shift their perspective to open up a conversation around how we could offer more and more possibilities. But here's the thing. We're going to call the baby ugly today on breaking into tech sales. For those who broke into tech sales, maybe this will be, and they're on the path, maybe they're SDRs, AEs, it might be a little bit of therapy. And for those who are thinking about breaking into tech sales, it might be a warning sign to say, slow down, do you want to dig in? So, are you ready?
Yeah. On that topic, I think that is a really good point. Sometimes we talk about all the great things, and obviously one of the key points of our podcast is getting people into tech sales. Yeah. But there is a reality of it. It's not always rainbows and sunshines. No. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of working with people that you don't necessarily like, but you have to grind through it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a great topic, just to be honest about the experiences that we all have in different places, and how we kind of combat it, and the realities of being in this world where you can make a ton of money, but with a ton of money comes a lot of responsibility.
Good point. So the first harsh truth I want to share, just a reality of selling in tech sales, is that I don't care how talented you are, how great a personality, if you think you're the greatest seller in the world, if you're not with a strong product and a market leader selling in the right territory, a good book of business with the right timing, there could be average sellers that will be in the right territory, the right timing with the right company that outperform you. And you could put all your time, energy, and effort into grinding to pinch pennies. So I think that's a harsh truth and a tough pill to swallow. And I just would love your perspective, because imagine someone goes to a seed stage startup that has a half-baked product. They don't even have product market fit, and they could be the greatest seller in the world, but it doesn't do them any good when they're not in the right position. And you always talk about putting yourself in the right position. So let's riff on this topic.
I think that there's a couple of things to that. Putting yourself in the right position, but also at the same time, and you guys know I'm always going to say this, my mentor, he used to always drill something in my head, right? Chris Riley used to always say, know me, like me, trust me, buy from me. And the reason why I bring that up is because that goes alongside to what you're talking about. In order for you to be put in the right position, your managers, your BDR managers, your ISR managers, the field managers, they all have to like you as a person in order for them to choose you to be a part of the team. But being a part of the team doesn't mean that that's the last step. It's also which account you're going to get, what territory you're going to cover.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're set up for success, right? So if they know you, they like you, then in this case, they trust you and they put you in the right position so you could do well. And that way you can sell more to people in IE, make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you can't control whether or not somebody likes you.
No. And here's the thing.
But it's what you do.
Now, dude, there's so many great topics we can riff on, but one thing about tech sales that's a harsh truth is it will reveal if you're unlikable.
Yes.
And it will demand you become a better version of yourself that is more likable.
I like that.
Like I had a mirror shown on me early on that sometimes my ego got in the way with customer calls and I was trying to prove myself. I was saying things that brought no value. And there were ways in which I was being unlikable. Now, in a lot of ways, I had natural likability, and that's what led me to sales, and that's why they took a shot at me at Oracle. But you will have a mirror shined up against yourself, and you'll see all your deficiencies, including if your prospects aren't responding well to you, you're probably unlikable. Also, it'll shine a mirror on if you're lacking confidence.
Yeah.
And let's be real. You got to put on your big boy or big girl pants and get better and improve.
Absolutely. I think your points are spot on and aligns to that. At the end of the day, people have to be able to, they have to see, like, not only are you trying to convince, that's why it's, all right, this is one of my favorite topics, just because people always, like, have a stigma about salespeople. Oh, my God, like, sales is this, sales is that. the reality is everybody in any space and any time, you're always selling. We're all in sales. Not only do you have to sell yourself to your customers, but you have to sell yourself to your bosses, right? In order for your bosses to put you in position so you can be successful. So that whole notion around salespeople, I think it's the car salesman, like stigma that people always associated to any sales title. But the reality is we're always in the business of sales. Doesn't matter if you're the person checking somebody out the line or whatever the case may be. We're all in sales and we're all doing it constantly every day. Now, how you master sales and what you use your sales abilities for are entirely up to you, right? If you're doing the right things and you're saying it the right way and you're genuinely making connection with people, right? We talked about vulnerability before. If you're being vulnerable and people can detect that, I'm going for a job. I'm coming from the inside and I want to go to the field. And so that means that I have to impress my inside managers to know that, hey, I'm ready and I can be trustworthy out in the field to go do well and represent this brand. And also at the same time, I'm talking to the field managers and I'm saying, hey, here's why I'm ready. Here's what I can bring. Here's my value. And also at the same time, I'm being vulnerable. Right? Vulnerability, people want to be invested. It's something that we talked about very early on. People want to be invested in your success. So when you bring them in and you play on the strings of, hey, how they can help you, and i.e. how, because of the knowledge that they have and what they can bring to you, using that to your ability so that way they can know that, hey, I'm a part of this person's journey. People love that. If I can be a part of your journey and see you do well, you go crush a number, I could say that I'm the one that brought you in.
Yes.
That is something that, put it aside. Let's be honest. People love that. They love that feeling of being a part of it. So, I kind of said a couple of things, but all of that correlates to people liking you and you being able to sell yourself, right? If you're not able to do that, then that puts yourself at a disadvantage. And to your point, puts a mirror to your face and you have to look at yourself and be like, is it me or is it them? And 9 out of 10 times, it's most likely you, and you have to make certain adjustments in who you are and for the better, right? Don't change who you are at the core, but change for the better, or at least learn how to play the game so you can gain it.
And that's another harsh truth that you're inspiring me to go into. You got to know how to play the game. And part of playing the game isn't just hitting your numbers.
Right.
If you hit your numbers, but you're not liked by your leaders,
you're right.
And you're not selling yourself to not only your current leader, but your AEs and then your next boss.
I've seen people that crush it get
passed up. And not only that, I saw a top performer at Google Cloud that closed $100 million deals, like of your caliber, that type of seller, elite. His prospects or now customers would write notes to Google saying he's the reason they bought from them. He was put on a PIP, nothing to do with his performance, because his manager did not like him. He was in a silo as a lone wolf, and so this is a harsh reality. You got to play the damn game. And you always talk about this, so that's a harsh truth. Let's talk about that.
Dude, I love that you just said that because I have seen the same scenario. People that come in and they crush it, and at the end of the day, if the managers don't like you, they will not go to bat for you. Something that we always say, go to bat. Somebody goes to bat for you, that means they're putting their name on the line and your place, right? If I'm going to bat, I'm like, Chris Bussing is my guy. I know that he's right. I know that he's the one for this position, or he's the one to do what we need to do. I'm going to bat for him. And if you don't have your manager that can do that for you, you are not going to be in a position for much longer. It doesn't matter how much money you bring to the business. It doesn't matter how well you know the technology. If they don't like you, you're not going nowhere.
Yeah. You had that story of being passed up twice, going from SDR to AE because you were crushing your numbers, but you realized you had an opportunity that you needed to, I'm going to say schmooze almost, but like, and I don't know if that's accurate because you're being authentic, but I'm just saying, like the idea of you got to kiss babies, right? Like you got to,
I didn't understand. Around. I was young. I didn't understand the process. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm like, man.
Because speaking of vulnerability, I had to be vulnerable. I think it's like a real story, but also, so the audience knows though, you still got promoted faster than I did. And so it's just, you still were under a year, which is faster than most anyone else. So that's the funny thing about it. But yet you got promoted faster.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a good lesson.
It's a great lesson.
Right? Like the time when my boss, Jarrell, told me, how does it feel to be last? and I was over 100% of my quota, but I was last on my team. So
Right.
it's all relative. Tech sales is an amazing career path where you can make as much as doctors and lawyers without having to cut anyone open or work ungodly hours. Looking back 10 years later, having personally started out in tech sales at Oracle, then moved to Google Cloud and a startup, and now fully launching into entrepreneurship, I can say with confidence that tech sales transformed my life through the income that it produced, the skill development, the connections, and the self-development that I unlocked along the journey. If you're someone who wants to strategically build your own six-figure tech sales career without wasting valuable time and earnings potential, then consider Tech Sales Accelerator and our 12-week programs as your blueprint. Our partners are breaking in and crushing quota at top companies like Oracle, Google Cloud, VMware, and Salesforce, leveraging our in-depth video content, one-on-one coaching, community, and network access. And we'd love to partner with you too to accelerate your own success on this path. If you'd like to learn more about Tech Sales Accelerator and our programs, then feel welcome to book time at my Calendly link, linked in the description of this video, and we'll walk you through all the details. Or just download my free cold calling system that's going to help you crush the phones quickly, also linked in the description of this video. All right, let's get back to the episode. But
Yeah.
Tell us about this lesson, dude.
No. It's a great point. I think that for me, I was so locked in on achieving a specific goal that I didn't see everything else. Right? I was narrow-minded and I wasn't seeing the full picture. I wasn't understanding the game. It's like, okay, I have to allow other people to also help and be a part of this journey in order for me to move forward. Talking about making that adjustment in myself, looking at myself in the mirror, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Right? Those first 6 months, I'm like, I'm crushing it. What am I doing wrong? These people have to hate me. And that wasn't the case. It was just that I wasn't building my personal brand as somebody that needed to work on X, Y, and Z. And I wouldn't have known that had I not been knocked down those first 2 times. So I think those are really good lessons just to be like, hey, yes, you may be crushing it from a metrics perspective, but metrics are not the only thing that you're getting metriced on, right?
Yes.
So,
There are metrics that are even more important. It's your political capital, your relationships with people. Right? That's a good way to put it.
Yes, sir.
And also, let's be real, it serves us, though, to build great relationships, because I believe our network is our ultimate insurance policy in tough times, but also it is an opportunity generator. And what I mean by that is you can get job opportunities from your network, you can get business opportunities, personal opportunities, and what I've found 10 years in, you're 8 years in, you must have found this, is the relationships we developed as SDRs now have bloomed 10, 8 years later. And it's just unreal. Our peers are in high-tech places or entrepreneurs, and if anything, the relationship itself is valuable to have a friendship, but you're set. Like, if you need an opportunity. And
I'm not worried.
That's the power, though, of building the relationships early on.
I mean, to your point, you're spot on, dude. I was at the DMV today, ran into my old manager.
Oh, wow.
Right? She just got married, just had a baby. She had to go change her name. So I'm sitting there up. And look, ironically, out of all the places, and mind you, Texas is huge. Randomly, at the time that I'm there, I run into a manager that I had 6 years ago. And we're laughing about the jokes of us coming through the inside, the grind that it took. And she was my leader, running things. And now she's still crushing it, doing her own thing. Her husband is crushing it. He also came from our program. So it's like this massive network of people that you genuinely like. That's my girl. You know what I mean? We went through the rough. She taught me a ton. You know what I mean? Now I get a chance to see her in a different light, but also at the same time knowing that, hey, we're equally doing our own thing in the career space, but that friendship is still always there, because whoever you go through the trenches with as an inside rep, you have a friend in them for a long time. And I know that, God forbid something happened to my job today, I know I can make a phone call and get another job the next day. And that's based on relationships and being genuine and being honest and doing the right things around people. So
it's funny how we talked about the ugly truth that you could hit your numbers and still, not get promoted, get passed up, or even get put on a PIP and fired because you didn't build relationships. But we flipped it positive, knowing that it's actually an amazing motivator to understand the friendship upside and relationship upside of tech sales. So I can't help it, and you're the same way, right? We're flipping it positive. You have to be positive to be successful in sales. But let's turn the dial back negative again. So I was talking about how you could have a great personality and be the most talented salesperson, But if you're in the wrong position, you will fail. And so I just want to share a few examples. I heard, someone I had on my podcast, actually, it was Corporate Bro, this like funny TikTok personality. He's actually really famous.
I watch him, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we did virtual. He told me, and I think it was in the podcast, he left Oracle too early and he went to a no-name startup and he failed and struggled. So that's an example, right? You can't take for granted the power of being with a market leader and in the right position with the right territory and timing. I was in my first AE role covering AAA and large accounts. Imagine that. On-premise database, selling the best product Oracle had to offer. Their bread and butter. I hit my number halfway through the year, taking 2-hour lunch breaks. Was I, like, at that point, the most polished, talented AE seller? No, but I was crushing it because I was in a great position. The next year, I was put on the cloud team. The cloud was very new. We were playing catch-up. Everyone on my team basically failed, and I won the dedication award for not, like, leaving the team, neither go to an on-premise team or quitting to go to a different company, right? So it's funny, but that was an example, too. The same seller in a different position, right? So that's a reality of tech sales. And I wanted to hammer that home with some examples so the audience can consider, one, do I want to sign up for this? And two, if I do sign up, let me get into the right position. Now, is there anything you want to add to that? Because I had another direction I want to take us, because we got a lot of other harsh realities to talk about.
The only thing I would add to that, I've had a ton of friends that started off with me at Dell, and they left too early as well.
Yeah.
And they've gone through job to jobs because X, Y, and Z reasons, right? I would say one of the greatest things that you can have in tech sales is be patient. If you're doing well, you're crushing your numbers, you have people that are invested in your success, it does behoove you to stick around for a little longer until that one opportunity that you can't pass up, you take it. You know what I mean?
When the vast data comes around, like your leap from Dell to
yeah, it was the right timing for me to do so. And I got in very early. Now, for some people that hit me up about it today, would I tell them to join like immediately? I would say take a step back, look at where you are. It's going to be a grind. If it's the right time, then it's the right time. But I wouldn't suggest it for everybody. Yeah. I learned a lot more in the last 2 years about being in the startup world that I hadn't known prior to being in that space. So I went because it was the right time.
Yes.
I did my time at Dell. I didn't feel like I could get any further right now in that current company. Therefore, the next company that came around that made the most sense is what I took advantage of. So I say all that to say is take heed. You know what I mean? Discuss it with the people that you trust the most. Pray about it. And then from there, figure out the best course of action. But not to just jump in just because you don't like this manager or you don't like this situation. The grass isn't always greener is my point. Yeah, let's talk about some other points, though.
I do like that you said pray about it.
Yeah,
I'm a man of faith as well. And I just connected with an SDR who's about to start at Databricks that's going to join our TSA Tech Sales Accelerator tribe. That's awesome. I told him I mentioned you as one of our key coaches to connect with. Yeah. And he's starting in September, and we're probably going to get him rocking around then. And he is such a stud. And he said
he's going to crush it.
And he says he lets the Lord lead him. The guy's a man of faith. And so you can't underestimate the power of faith, especially when you ride the tech sales roller coaster. Yeah. So one of the things about tech sales, it's rocky and there's a lot of uncertainty, right? I've seen at Google Cloud, when I was an inside seller, they sat us down, and I had a great year that first year when I joined as an inside seller selling to Seattle. They said, we're eliminating the inside sales organization. We're moving to, boots on the ground of field sellers. And so we had 3 months to find a new role. I was fortunate. Yeah. I got a promotion out of it, right? But that was one example. There is chaos at times. Tech is always changing, and an org could be eliminated, right? It has nothing to do with you. You could be performing well, but the business made a decision based on their market strategy pivots, and maybe they're looking at the numbers, the operational leaders. So I've heard of there's layoffs, right?
Everybody does it.
And they even massive. Like their AWS, I know, has done things, I just hearing through the grapevine and working with AWS quite a bit to try and get sellers to even quit by making like certain policy changes. And like there's things like changes like return to office. So let's just talk about, because I mentioned faith. Faith is the ultimate risk when you can deal
That's
with
a very, very great point.
tech sales is a roller coaster. It's like a bowl. You hop on and it's like right bucking you, dude. There's always going to be pressure. You might have layoffs. You might have org changes. Go to market shifts, by the way, like your metrics. I just connected with a startup today, a HR leader that said the SDRs and the reps are disengaged because quotas changing, success metrics are changing. And it's like that happens. So let's just talk about the chaos.
The harsh reality, there is a significant amount of chaos. In some cases, the largest companies, and this is something that's bizarre, but they will actually fire the most performing rep, or they will actually fire the best district manager or VP. Sounds bizarre.
By the way,
why would you fire somebody that's crushing it for your company? But they do that. Why do they do that? One, they're cutting budgets. At the end of the day, I'm being honest. We are a number. That's how they look at us.
This is a good one to hit on. Let's face the reality, because my boy Trent Dressel, I don't know if you met Trent. You'll have to meet him at some point. He's local to Austin. He's built a good YouTube channel himself, and he's at Deal now. But him and I had conversations about that. And even when we speak to, because he had a lot of people through his YouTube reach out, like, you're a number. Like, let's just accept that reality.
Yeah, know that.
You know, and like, I used to drink the Kool-Aid with Oracle, the red Kool-Aid, Google the blue Kool-Aid, meaning I would get so into it and amped up. And I'm like, I would do anything for these companies, right? I'm all in. But, dude,
they won't do the same for you.
At the end of the day, you're a number.
You're a number.
They will not do the same for you. And that's a lesson it took me a bit to learn. So, and what else would you share on this topic?
There's so many different directions. One of the things that I always tell people, do not find happiness in your work. Like in tech sales is great. What I sell, I see the outcomes and I see what it can do. As a geek that loves, an enthusiast that loves technology, I get excited about the technology, but I'm not married to my company. You know what I mean? Because if they needed to get rid of me, they would do it with no heartbeat. And hey, that's the name of the game. Don't find happiness in your work. In tech sales, we obviously, one of the reasons why we're talking to people about getting into the space, because what the lifestyle can give you, right? The amount of money you can make and what you can do with that money, i.e. if it's your family, that's your main focus, if it's traveling, etc. You have a really unique opportunity to set your family up or to be able to travel and do whatever the heck.
And here's one other, by the way, this Databricks SDR, what an inspiration. He's from the Philippines. He wants to sponsor 100 children at like $45 a month. He's already at 3. He wants to make the money do that and give back to his church, in addition to finding down payment on a home and providing for his family and building their future. Dude, I'm getting chills right now. This is what it's really about.
That's what it's about.
But anyways, like it's a vehicle. But what you're saying is, dude, if you're a one-dimensional sales robot and your whole life is predicated on success and like hitting the number, you're going to set yourself up for depression. It's like an idol that, like, if you get fired or you lose your job, which can very well be out of your control, or a pandemic happens, where in my case at Google, no one was hitting their number because our customers were bleeding cash and going out of business. Of course, we weren't hitting quota. Dude, all of a sudden, if our eggs are in that one basket, our identity is rocked, depression. And I've heard reps that have said, like, I talked to a Google Cloud AEs covering the largest AI account at Google Cloud, actually, very strategic role. And he said one lesson he learned, dude, it was some of the most depressed times in his life was when his job was everything. And he found that by diversifying and actually investing in experiences and hobbies and other things, it gave his life more color.
Yeah.
And so just riffing a bit, but back to you on the topic of just being mindful of not over-investing and being one-dimensional.
You have to take advantage where you can take advantage, but also at the same be cognizant of the reality of it. You are a number. That DM that loves you, but there's only so much you can do. That VP that loves you, there's only so much you can do.
They can't protect you. They can't save you.
That one exec that you built a really good relationship with, there's more people on that board that have to make these decisions.
Yes.
You are a number. Not the end of the world, but the reality is, it's a harsh truth. And at the end of the day, you got to take advantage of every situation you possibly can. Learn to play the game. Use it to your advantage, right? Don't take anything personal. It's not personal. It's not. It's business, baby.
Dude, hey, how about this? Mikey Plancher Enterprises. I'm Bussing Ventures LLC. And by the way, I don't know if you'd be...
Mine is
actually... What is it? Oh, what is it?
Yeah, it's Plancher Development Group.
Okay, right. Plancher Development Group, Bussing Ventures LLC. It's funny, we actually have LLCs. I meant to use it as a metaphor, but we do. And this is where the tech sales path will enable you to go eventually. But imagine... our companies, I learned to view my companies as a venture capital firm investing in Bussing Ventures LLC, and I will use the capital they give me to perform a function. as the vehicle to creating Bussing Ventures Enterprise to eventually launch. So that was a shift where it was like, I'm giving everything to this company and it's all for them to know they are investing in me as a venture capital firm in my enterprises. And yes, I'm going to give all I got I'm going to give all I got to the company as an investment in myself. And I think that's a key way to like shift your perspective
100%.
that you're doing it for you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you are your priority. Nobody else cares about anybody else but you. You make your own decisions. You make your own destiny. You have to put yourself in positions for you to be successful. You can't leave it out. You can't leave it out to chance to anybody else but yourself. Make the right relationships. Do the right things. You can't control everything, but you control what you can control, right?
Yeah.
We talk about controlling the controllables. It's one of the biggest things. But
yeah.
And
that's the thing. The reality of tech sales is there's chaos and there's so much out of our control when we're dealing with the external world. Like customers and prospects.
Oh man,
that might have bad days. They are
the reality.
Their own like just emotional human beings. There's the economy, bro.
Yes.
We don't know what's gonna happen. Is a pandemic gonna happen? All of a sudden, our customers are going out of business.
Man, one of the biggest.
So, dude, it's just what I'm saying though is the greatest source of stress and anxiety is when there are things out of our control. And so there's so much out of our control in sales, and such a small portion of it we control: attitude, effort, our focus, things like that.
Things that have to do with you.
And so that's a harsh reality, and yet we can use it to become a freaking badass who is detached from outcomes and who has intrinsic self-worth that is not attached to performance, which honestly, dude, in the pandemic, my customers were struggling. I did not hit my number. Most of us didn't. Google actually generously paid us a portion of our attainment as if we hit
that's
it.
Awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Not a lot of companies do that.
But harsh reality, I was broken down, dude.
Yeah.
Because even though I knew intellectually that I can't personalize, there is a macro factor in pandemic going on. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I personalize. I'm a failure. And so that broke me down. And that's a reality, dude, of tech sales.
It's tough.
You know? So
we had different experiences in the pandemic. I made the most money, but
because you had Zoom, right?
no. I had a couple of accounts that did well.
Yeah. So
I had a couple of accounts that did well.
And so one thing I remember it was talking to Aluba Phoenix. He had this like King's Throne chair. He was a sales trainer at Google Cloud and very profound, wise man. And I forget what country he was in, but Aluba Phoenix is an interesting name. And he said, do not allow a down year to define you. And if you can zoom out, there are so many reps that got fired or failed and became top in their industry. Yeah. There's a guy, Jamal Raymer, the author of Mega Deal Secrets. He closed $50 million deals at Oracle. You've closed deals of this size yourself. And he's an author and leader in the industry, and he was fired for underperformance. It might have actually been 1 or 2 times. And yet he bounced back. So there's a harsh reality that people do fail. Some people, I think you've hit your quota every year, right?
Yeah.
And so that can happen. And yet people fail and they have to confront failure. But I am flipping it positive, man. You can fail. And that's a beautiful thing about this path. You can learn to fail and bounce back and then succeed gloriously.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that we all have a really unique opportunity to set ourselves up for success, as long as we understand that a lot of things are not personal. Like, can't take it to the heart, but you have to keep chugging and pushing through. Tech sales is chaos at all times. One of my biggest pet peeves is when my managers are like, we need you to get this purchase order in today. And I'm like, I can't control that. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to navigate those waters. That is one of my pet. I'm like, listen, y'all are giving me more credit than you think I have. I cannot go ahead and tell the customer to go cut this PO today. That's not going to happen. They work on their own timeline. I am there to serve them.
There's not a magic phrase you can say, right? You can follow up in a way that's empathetic, that isn't too pushy.
Yeah.
But sometimes the answer is actually not following up and giving them space to come to you. But good point. That's another example of what might be out of our control. And another ugly side of tech sales, in addition to the chaos, is just the constant pressure to deliver, right? Like you got to deliver today. You got to deliver tomorrow. You delivered today.
They don't care.
What are you doing for me now? Okay, so this is the other thing.
I'm living that.
Yeah, because, okay, here's the thing. You could destroy it. And
Yep.
now you had a huge year last year. You get rewarded with a bigger quota. And ultimately the question, what are you doing for me now? Right. And so let's just talk about this, because I that's another thing that I had a mental note of what I wanted to cover is you could crush it, but then you get put in a...
The harsh reality is this. You get put in the next year, you're going to get a massive quota, something that you don't necessarily understand. The reality is that's how it typically goes. The business, there comes a threshold where it's like, okay, this person has already done so much already. The goal has to continuously move. It never stays the same. So you have to prepare yourself so you have to prepare yourself. That is going to go higher. And for me right now, this year is a dig deeper year. How much deeper can Mikey dig? What else can I be doing? I'm on a plane every week this year. All right. I am busting my butt off knowing that I gotta attain this new number that is way more than what it was before. I can't complain about it. There's nothing I can do about it but go ahead and go bust my butt and dig deeper. I can't. The complaining doesn't solve anything.
This is just a good example of there are things that happen in tech sales, again, out of your control, that you could easily resent. And because you want things to be different.
I say I like it.
You don't want to blow out your number and then get rewarded with a bigger quota that's harder to achieve, where it's going to be harder to make.
But that's the harsh reality. That's exactly what happens.
Yep.
You blow out your number, you have to expect that you're going to get a significantly larger number the following year.
Yeah.
That's how the business works.
So the Usain Bolt of vast data, right? You win the 100-meter sprint gloriously, and then you walk into the starting blocks of the next sprint. And now you get the 200-meter. It's a little further. The competition's a little harder. I'm just going with the first metaphor that came off my head. But then it's like you win that, and then now you get the 400-meter. You're stepping right into it. It's almost like no breather. And
there is no breather. In tech sales, I think that's
it never ends.
It's a great analogy because it doesn't end. Your quota will always increase. Right? Every year, you keep doing, the better you do, the more it increases. And it's like, how do you go into a well that's already been dry? Right? Yeah. You just crushed it in your territory. Now you have to go back and go find that diamond out of the roughs. But it takes time. So the digging deeper is there's so many different things that it goes alongside of that. Like you have to dig deeper in yourself. What else can I go and do? How can I set myself up for the best outcome? What relationships do I have to go build to go have people be an evangelist for the product that I'm working on, because I don't have the bandwidth to do it all on myself, right? Having a strong team, like I'd be losing myself right now if I didn't have a great team. I got these 2 engineers that bust their butts every day, day in and day out. And they have other AEs that they have to work with, but because they understand the nature of my business and the things that I can get done within my patch, they spend a significant amount of time supporting me and helping me. I could not do it without them. So having a strong team is super important. And after you blow out your number the first year, I didn't do that by myself. And now we all are in the same boat the next year, and we have to row in the same direction at the same time to make sure that we're moving forward as far as we can, so that way we can go ahead and do it again. All right. It's not done by yourself. It's done with the team. And, that's the harsh reality is, there's things you can control. There's things you cannot. Quotas are one thing that you cannot.
Yeah.
And then those little clauses that they put in your GAF, right? Your GAF is what they typically give you after signing as your quota. It tells you what you're going to expect for the year. Those clauses of, hey, you blow, let's say your quota is 5 million and that's for the year. Now, halfway through the year, you're already hitting 5 million. They reserve the rights to change it, to increase it to 7 million. You know what I mean? Your quota is never set. And you have to read the fine print, because you'll get surprised. And you'll be like, damn, I didn't know that was a possibility. Now my goal just went from here to there, and I had no expectation of that. Now you have to dig even deeper. The harsh reality is that stuff happens. Windfalls, we talked about it before. It happens. You blow your number out. You ended up blowing your number out. That 5 million, you did 10 million. Now they're looking at your quota saying, well, you crushed it too much. Now we're going to take away 2 million from that, so you get paid less.
Yeah.
It happens.
That was the other harsh reality where I was going to go next is companies find a way to pay you less. And so I just want to make sure we're covering all the examples. So you said in the GAF, they put a little clause where they could, let's say halfway through the year, you're destroying your number. They can, in the middle of the year, change the quota that was set and extend it so that now you're further away from the goal. You thought you were already halfway there. Now you're, let's say you're 25% or 30%, and you were on pace to absolutely blow it out. And now that same number, if you blew it out by 1.5, it's less.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one example. And then also windfalls. So they might say that, I think one time in a past podcast, you mentioned a deal where they said, oh, we're not going to count it because it was inbound,
like 4 or 5 years ago.
Contribute to it. So I guess
I did contribute to it, but it was
you didn't like source it,
I didn't,
which clearly you did. You closed the deal, but I'm just saying, what are the other ways that companies find a way to not pay you? I guess that's one example. And is that an example of a windfall? Or
yes, it was an example of a windfall. It wasn't that it was that it came in, there was somebody else working on it, and I finished it, right? It still took time, it took effort, it still took 5-6 months to get it done, but because it wasn't like, oh, it could use the terminology of it being in bluebird, meaning something that just fell out of the sky, right? Those things happen. There's multiple different ways where the companies typically try not to pay you. If you're a high paid rep already and there's this deal that comes down the pipe and it's $100 million and you have a $5 million quota, they're more than likely going to re-gaff you. That's what we call it. I know somebody that got re-gaffed 4 times in 1 year. His quota changed 4 times in 1 year because he kept on crushing it. He went from seeing 4,000% to seeing 900%, right? That makes a difference, a significant amount of a difference.
Gosh, and the problem is the expectations were here and they weren't met. You know, you end up here. And so that gap leads to a lot of disappointment. It depends on how you respond, right? You have a winning mindset. We're like, screw it, I'm just going to dig deeper. But that causes some real stress and disappointment in tech sales right there.
It does. I think that there's a reality of that you have to realize that a lot of this stuff isn't in our control. There's certain states, though, such as California, I think I mentioned this last time, that have protections in place so that companies cannot do that, because California is one of the biggest tech hubs in the world, right?
Yeah.
They have encountered these situations where somebody crushes it at a startup or crushes at a large company, and now the company doesn't want to pay them. California doesn't stand for that. Super liberal there, but they do some things right. I don't like everything they do, but they do some things right. And that is one of the places where if the juice is worth the squeeze, and what I mean by that is if you know that you're supposed to get paid $3, $4, $5 million, and your company goes out and unjustly takes that away from you, there is ways and mechanisms and things you could do to go ahead and fight that. Not every battle. My point of this is not every battle is worth fighting. So that's also a hard truth. Yeah, you may feel like, damn, they just took away $2, $3, $4, $500,000 away from me, or they may have taken $1 million away from me. Sometimes the battle is not even worth it, because now you jeopardize your personal how did you say it earlier?
Your people capital.
Yeah,
political capital.
Your political capital. You do jeopardize that. Now you become that person in the industry that may be viewed, even though you're right. Even though you're right, there's still we have to live in reality and know that even though when you're right, doesn't mean that it's
worth fighting for. It reminds me of a buddy at AWS that had his boss say, "Are you sure you want to fight over this internally?" Like, because he was
when you set it in motion, it's a catalyst, and it won't stop rolling downhill.
Yeah,
you have to be full in it. If you're gonna go fight for something, you have to be fully dedicated to go fighting for it, and it has to be worth it.
Yeah. So another example of a company cutting down your pay and optimizing for their own profit and loss was when I was at Google. And I mentioned this in a past podcast, but after my first year in the role, they dropped our base salaries. And I had a buddy who left as a result. He'd done great. I had done great too, right? But he left because he has a family to care for and he just felt so insulted. But the reason they did that was to shift to lower base salaries and increase upside commission, which overall is good for the top performers because they'll be rewarded, they'll be hungry. And
we talked about
what
this.
happens is bottom performers, they could mooch off a higher base, right? And so it makes sense from an organizational perspective for Google to do that in any company. They don't want to, if a high base could actually reward underperformers, but still the problem is, even for the high performers, we were used to a certain base salary, and then it was dropped by a decent portion.
Yep.
That was guaranteed money. So talk about a disappointment. But you got to figure out, is this worth me leaving? Is this a battle I'm going to fight? And there's nothing you really could do at a company like that when they made that decision. But this goes into, there's just so much out of our control, and you have to be able to roll with the punches. So, dude, another harsh reality is that, like, tech sales is a grind, and there's daily habits and disciplines that are so not sexy that you gotta implement to be successful. You gotta make dials to strangers and interrupt them, and you're gonna get rejected. One of my account executive clients at Splunk that you're gonna meet, y'all are set up, I think, next Monday to connect. He's like, yeah, I cold called all day today, 0 pickups. So imagine, like, you're doing things like activities that are mundane with 0 return sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're doing this day in, day out. And in fact, sometimes you get rejected. Sometimes a prospect might actually be having a bad day and go off on you. You're having to, beyond doing just the same boring behaviors, like do planning work, and there's admin related tasks sometimes around like updating Salesforce for leadership. The point is, there's a lot of boring stuff, and some of the greatest performers, they're just willing to do the boring and uncomfortable things that are required. So is there anything else you'd add around just this theme of, like, it can be a grind and there's a lot of boring stuff you got to do to be successful?
I mean, the cold calling is one of the biggest ones. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
That's the main one, right? It's like, it's not only boring, but also it's like unnatural, and it's risky.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to get rejected.
You're going to get rejected. Nobody likes being rejected.
No one naturally likes that. It is an unnatural skill that also produces unnatural results and outsized gains.
Yeah.
You can master it. But I think that's the main one. But then, there's the updating of like the CRM, and you have to do these like internal trainings, like on, I mean, this is important, right? But like sexual harassment, like you've probably been through it, right? It's like, okay, I got to watch these videos on this, and that's needed. But I'm just saying, like, I got to do this random training. I have to attend an internal meeting where we're not going to, like, it's taking away from my actual prospecting time. And so there's BS that way.
There are truths. Yeah, there's definitely things that are out of your control that you have to be a part of, that you have to do. That's in the job description. There's a ton of training that I have to get done that I haven't gotten done yet. Yeah. And it's primarily because I'm heads down trying to close deals. And it can be frustrating times, like, dang, like, I know that I have to do this. I understand that. But I'm locked in on things that are going to make us money. And I'm in a position, I'm like, yo, I need to make this money this year. You know what I mean? So, there's things that you can't control, but they're part of the job, and you just have to roll with those punches. Like, you complaining about it, feeling some type of way about it will never solve it or make a difference. You just have to lock in and do what you need to do to get it done.
Yeah. Another harsh reality is having bad managers. You could be at the best company and then have a bad manager.
It happens.
And I had just an experience at Google where overall, like, there was a lot of good in this specific manager, a lot of good. And at first I thought there was such an inspiration, but there was just over time lack of presence in meetings, not even being there with me, like, always on calls, and they had a lot of changes going on in their life. And we started to, like, we had like misalignment in certain areas, and everything turned dark in a previously amazing opportunity. And I've seen this with other sellers and great companies where their manager relationship isn't working out. And it doesn't matter how great the company is with the greatest benefits and culture, a bad manager can ruin everything.
Yeah, every time.
And so that's just also a reality that I just wanted to make sure we hit on that. And it's important to remind the audience to just be mindful, but sometimes you can't predict if, like someone might seem one way in the interview process and be different in reality. And that leads me to another topic in a similar vein. Like some people are, interviewing with startups and they're sold this vision of how great it is.
Yeah.
The product's great, all this, it's a great culture. And then it's not the reality. It's a crappy culture. Reps aren't hitting quota and they're in a horrible situation. So those are two different versions of like being sold something that isn't the reality. So is there anything you want to add around the bad manager or an opportunity that wasn't what you thought? And I just feel like you made great investments in your career though with Dell and Vast. So it's like, I can't imagine like you.
Yeah, I personally haven't had any terrible experiences with managers. I think to your point, in the beginning, you always have to fill somebody out. You have difference of opinion. But once you build a personal relationship and you start to understand what's important to that person, then that allows you to look at things a little differently. So that for the manager part, that's what I would say about it. And then on the other side, what was the other thing that you had mentioned?
So beyond the managers, it's like some people do go to startups where they sell you on a vision and like it's like, oh, we're so great, but then the reality is the product's half baked.
Yeah,
it's like, and I had a guy that went to an early startup and he's like, dude, I'm selling something that doesn't work.
Yeah,
and imagine like the culture's not what you thought. It's a remote company. People are all like just not motivated. And I've even heard of cultures where people just like are showing up hungover and not dressing well and disheveled because they're just not in it. And so I don't think you've just picked great companies.
I've been fortunate for sure. But I do know, but I 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So I do know a ton of people that have gone to startups that unfortunately haven't panned out the way they wanted to. I.e., product not being what it was out to be. The packages are not what they were set out to be, right? You're thinking you're coming in, you're going to get a chance to blow out your number and make a ton of money, and the reality is that's not the case. Brand recognition and who you align yourself to, right? When you're evaluating a startup, look at who they're working with. Who are their partners? What are their partners saying about them? How do the partners review them? What type of mechanisms do they have in place to make the partner successful? And the reason why I'm saying partners so often right now is primarily because when you're a startup, you cannot do it by yourself. You're going to need to have people that have these relationships, that have these skill sets, and the reach that you typically don't have, right? You're calling from a X, Y, and Z company that has no brand recognition, and you're trying to expand that. That is not easy. And you have, I think one of the biggest things that I always tell people now that I'm, I've been through a startup for the first time, right? I would say before you make the leap from a corporate job, make sure you have savings. Make sure you have a good amount of savings because those first 2 years are going to be a grind. And the harsh reality is everybody's going to sell you about the stocks that you're getting and this price point that you're going to get it at. And that, look, I look at actuals. What am I actually going to get paid? And one of the things I'm always going to tell people is be conscientious. Know that, hey, that pay cut that you just took because they told you that they're going to give you way more shares and the shares are worth X, Y, and Z. Take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, that's another harsh reality, dude. Great point. Is you think you're going to make so much, especially with things like equity, but a lot of times it's fairy dust. Like my last company, 50,000 shares. I got it at a certain strike price, meaning I got the shares at a low price point that when we IPO, it's going to multiply in value. So I buy in at the low price and that turns into an immediate return, multiple returns, and that's going to make me a ton of money. Well, I recently left to be an entrepreneur and I tried to evaluate the company and where they're at versus their strike price and their future.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Bestman was a reseller though, right?
Yeah, a partner.
So if you did your analysis, you would have known that partners typically don't go public, right? They're privately held companies. So if there's no product.
So the thing is, like, there are partners that have IPO'd in the industry, but it's not as many, and it's not the same multiples as software.
No.
So that's also a harsh reality of selling on the services side. Going to our theme of being attracted by high numbers and potential of earnings. When I left Google, I got a much higher base salary, and I actually balled out downtown in the 18th floor of a skyrise as a result, right? And the potential was so much commission and equity, and it was a little bit of an illusion. The reality was much different. And so that's just a harsh reality. And yes, services companies, I tell people now at AWS, like I mentored a young guy there that I met with And I said, because some of them think about AWS or Google sellers think about going to the partner side and just, yeah, you'll get a higher base salary, but look at the full reality and picture, okay? And so
It's
just
great advice.
more broadly,
It's great advice.
yeah, it's like where some companies, they're going to offer you not just equity, but a high on-target earnings. Like you can get like 150 base, 150 on-target earnings, and if you hit your numbers, and even unlimited upside. But you got to look at the reality of the company. What if it turns out none of the reps are hitting their numbers, and you get the 150K base, but you barely make any commissions?
Tough.
And like we said, it doesn't matter how talented you are if the product's not there and it's a tough market. And
I know some people.
So this is the reality.
Maybe hearing 150K and say that's a lot of money just from the basis, not when you're in this industry.
Yeah, and also imagine if you don't make much commission, and so. And another harsh reality is a lot of sellers, like even those that make a ton of money, they spend way too much. And I was balling out.
I've been one of them.
Rise. And I was going out a lot because I was right by West 6, dude. Oh my gosh, bringing people up to the rooftop jacuzzi. But then at the time I was drinking and I'm buying all the drinks, and it's amazing how you could make a lot more money and still waste it. So that's a harsh reality.
Yeah, very, very harsh reality.
Solve your problems. All the money from tech sales won't solve your money problems because you could blow it all. Are you going to be disciplined to actually live under your means and create wealth that way? And so that's on us.
Yeah.
But the more money, that's not necessarily the answer. So, hey, we talked about so much in terms of the ugly side of tech sales. I'm glad the audience gets to see the underbelly and the reality.
Yeah.
Is there anything we missed? Because I have my laptop here and I took notes to make sure we maximize this. I think we hit
everything.
On everything. Yeah, is there anything you want to add on the ugly side? Because
look, at the end of the day, I think that we have to focus on what we can control, right? You can't take things personal. If there's something that I would repeat and say it a ton, is not taking things personal. The harsh reality is there's a lot of things that we go through as salespeople that we have no control over, and we allow it to seep into our personal lives, and that degrades our health, and it puts us in a dark space and puts us into situations that we are not used to, and that is a trickle effect. Net is this: don't find happiness in the work, right? Tech sales is a great career to be in. Make a ton of money. You get to experience the world in a different way. You get to travel. You get to have all these fun experiences. But at the end of the day, know that your time can come up at any time. You are a number. So continuously build value. Build your brand. Who you are as a person is the biggest product that you have. You as a person. So, yeah, the harsh reality is you may be crushing it. They let you go. That it is what it is. But if you have done the right things throughout your career and you've built the right relationships, then it shouldn't really matter, because you can make that phone call to someone that you worked with previously that can speak for you or go to bat for you. So I'll leave it with that.
Amen.
As always, this is what we want to talk about. We want to be honest. We want to tell people about the realities of what we go through. And at the end of the day, help people change their lives so that way they can send kids to school. I'll make sure to share the link with you too. But for the last couple of years, my family and close friends, they have the Foston organization. They have two orphanages back in Haiti where I contribute every month to, right? Those are the type of things that matter the most. Being able to help out with the amount of money that we make, like that is what it's about.
Amen.
So,
yeah. Well, what I'll say is, in spite of all the chaos, the pressure, the bad bosses, all the issues, if I could go back all over again, I'd do it all over again.
Yeah.
The greatest path in the world from an early career perspective for someone who wants to reach their potential, dude. Looking back, like, tech sales is what got me here.
Yep.
Warts and all, dude. Building financial freedom, building relationships, building the highest leverage skills in the world, sales, email, copywriting, and becoming a better version of myself. So I stand by it's the best path, and yet we can look at the reality. And, dude, I'm just so grateful that we get to come together and just share our hearts on this podcast and encourage the audience.
Yeah, I agree.
And this was a fun one. I think it was one of our most interesting podcasts, and I look forward to the next one, man. I don't even know what the topic's going to be, but we're going to make it amazing. So, to the audience, thank you for being here.
As always.
I respect you for being curious about this path, investing in your professional development, and I'm grateful you're a part of this growing tech sales community. We want you to win in tech sales, but most importantly, we want you to win in life. So to your success in tech sales and in life, happy selling and happy living.
Peace.
And we'll see you in the next one. Let's go, Mikey.